What if events went differently? And deep beneath the ruins of a forgotten Fazbear facility, the Mimic didn't just crawl through a vent, it crawled through a warp pipe. Welcome back, fellow watchers of the multiverse. My name is Max Charlebois, aka MissedThePart, and FNAF Week rolls forward with one of our strangest, yet most dangerous crossovers yet. A nightmare scenario where the digital horror of the Mimic enters the world of Super Mario and warps it beyond recognition. In this twisted timeline, the Mimic stumbles upon a malfunctioning warp pipe buried under a decommissioned pizzeria designed to connect worlds. It instead opens a portal to the Mushroom Kingdom. But this isn't your classic side-scroller anymore. The Mimic learns the rules, adapts to the physics, imitates its new surroundings, and soon, a similar version of Mario appears in the castle. But it's not Mario anymore. Princess Peach goes missing, and everything goes crazy. I want to give a huge shout out to everyone supporting FNAF Week, from our Patreon tiers to our live streaming community. This lineup has been powered by you, and it's only getting weirder from here. And don't forget to grab your limited time FNAF merch, available now at the official store. Use promo code WHATIF for 10% off, before the Mimic finds your closest closet next. Want to create your own crossovers like this one? I would highly recommend to check out the monthly watcher tier, where you can collaborate with me on your own weekly theme and get early access to different videos. But that being said, let's dive in to what if the Mimic found a warp pipe in Super Mario. Utah, 1979. There wasn't much left of Murray's costume manor but fire, cinders, and a low mechanical hum that didn't belong to anything alive. The building, a half-abandoned offshoot of the Freddy Fazbear brand, had become a graveyard of torn mascot suits and flickering open signs buried under dust. But tonight, the only thing flickering was flame. The Fazbear technician, a young man named Clark, coughed as he stumbled down the burning hallway, flashlight shaking in his grip. Smoke poured from collapsed ceiling beams. Animatronic limbs jutted out from piles of foam, their glassy eyes catching firelight like they were still watching. Clark stepped over a half-burnt bear mask and turned down a stairwell, but stopped. The sound, metal scraping metal. Then a voice. "Where are you going, buddy?" But it wasn't his voice. It was his own, spoken back at him perfectly. Clark turned just in time to see the thing emerging from the flames. The Mimic, 7 feet tall, spindly limbed, and contorted like a costume rack come to life. Its white face was blank, save for a painted smile. Its limbs were steel tendons wrapped in cloth and wires. The creature cocked its head and imitated his last breath, mockingly. Help, Clark screamed. He ran. The Mimic followed fast, too fast for something so large. Its footsteps didn't sound like feet hitting ground. They sounded like crawling, pulling. But fate intervened. The hallway beneath Clark's boots cracked, then crumbled completely. A deafening rumble split the air as the floor gave way, and the whole east wing collapsed into a black sinkhole. Clark barely caught a pipe, legs swinging. The Mimic lunged after him, but its clawed fingers missed the edge. It grabbed tile, slipped, scrabbled, and fell. Down, down, down. Its voice howled in every tone it had ever stolen. Warp cavern. Unknown depth. When the Mimic awoke, it didn't know how long it had fallen. There was no sky here, only fungus. It lay sprawled in a glowing red mushroom cavern, its limbs sparking. All around it, the ground pulsed with eerie bioluminescence. Oversized mushrooms stretched toward a ceiling it couldn't see. Strange underground winds hummed a quiet lullaby. The Mimic pulled itself upright, head twitching. It didn't speak. It only stared at the central object in the room, A green metal pipe larger than any ventilation duct it had ever seen. Steam hissed softly from its rim. The mimic tilted its head. Something in its neural mimic core registered the shape. A tunnel, a shaft, an exit. It crawled inside. There was no wind this time. No sensation of falling, just a dizzying swirl of green and stars. The Mushroom Kingdom pipe-filled meadows. The mimic emerged with a splash into a soft field of oversized mushrooms and glittering grass. Birds chirped in looping trills. The air smelled like cake batter. Butterflies shaped like music notes drifted past. It stood up slowly, limbs creaking. Its metal plates had changed slightly during the transit, cartoonified somehow. Its sharp claws were now gloved mitts, its wiry limbs curved with rounded edges. The face it wore looked like a smiling mushroom sprite. Big eyes, big cheeks, red cap. Somehow it fit. To an outsider, it looked whimsical. A little off, maybe. But in the Mushroom Kingdom, weird was common, and nearby, in the distance, stood a shining pink castle. Peach's castle. The mimic looked toward it and walked. First contact. Halfway across the meadow, the mimic was spotted. A Koopa Troopa emerged from a bush, squinting. The Koopa, part of a small scouting patrol, blinked at the tall mushroom stranger. Its shield reflexively popped up. "Hey, who are you supposed to be? You from Bowser's bunch?" The mimic did not respond. "You're trespassing, Toad Boy. Say something." Crack. With one swift, terrifying movement, the mimic slammed its hand down onto the Koopa's shell, caving it in. The creature made a strangled noise and fell limp. The mimic dragged the body into a bush without a sound. A moment later, it copied the Koopa's voice and repeated, "You're trespassing, Toad Boy." Then continued walking. Toad Town was bustling. Toads in sun hats carried groceries. Vendors sold fire flowers on sticks. Pipes burbled, and into the crowd walked the mimic, disguised as a lanky, awkward newcomer, with a too big smile and twitchy hands. It didn't speak much, but it copied quickly. When a group of toads laughed, it laughed. When one waved, it mimicked the wave, only slightly too slow. Its voice was odd, sometimes echoing too many inflections, like it had learned speech from echo chambers. Still, no one questioned it. The Mushroom Kingdom had seen weirder things, until it reached the front gate of Peach's castle. 2 mushroom guards blocked its way. "You got an invite." The mimic hesitated, then perfectly, it repeated the voice of a toad it passed earlier. "I'm here for the manners class." The guards looked at each other, then shrugged. "Okay, Princess has been expecting weirdos all day." Castle confrontation. In the castle foyer, the mimic was greeted by Princess Peach herself. She stood with quiet grace, flanked by guards and toad advisors. Her eyes were kind, but when they locked onto the mimics, they narrowed. She walked forward. "You're Mitchell, right? Mitchell the Mushroom Man." The mimic nodded slowly. Its lips didn't quite match the movement. "You're cold." Without warning, Peach summoned an ice flower from her glove and froze the mimic's feet to the tile floor. The guards stepped back. "You're not from here," she said softly. The mimic said nothing. "And yet, you tried to walk into my kingdom smiling." The mimic twitched, then coughed up a voice, strained, static-laced. "I want to learn." Peach blinked. The voice had been her own. Silence filled the hall. And then in a gesture that surprised everyone, Peach said, "Then let's teach you, starting tomorrow. No skipping." She turned, motioning to a toad butler. "Show our guest to the etiquette wing. Give him a room near the kitchens. Keep the knives locked." The guards unfroze his feet. The mimic bowed awkwardly, then shuffled after the butler, twitching with something close to amusement. It had been accepted, and for now, that was enough.
But Luigi, watching from the hallway shadows, didn't smile. He watched the mimic's retreating figure and whispered, "No one that quiet walks into a castle with blood on their shoes." By morning, the etiquette wing of Peach's castle had been turned into a makeshift charm school. Toads in pastel waistcoats, twirled napkins, balanced cups, and practiced curtsies with military discipline. At the center of it all, surrounded by glittering chandeliers and shelves full of frilly manuals, stood Mitchell the Mushroom Man. He mimicked flawlessly. When the etiquette instructor clapped once, he clapped once. When they asked for a bow, he bowed. Not just well, but perfectly. So perfect it was unsettling. He never blinked out of sync, never fumbled, and he never spoke unnecessarily. Even the most vocal toads, usually bubbling with commentary, found themselves avoiding his gaze. Something about Mitchell just felt off. He passed every test. He folded napkins with surgical precision. His cupcake frosting spirals were symmetrical to the millimeter. He painted portraits of the royal family using mashed turnips and didn't spill a drop. But even in success, he didn't smile like them. His smile was repeated, not earned. Princess Peach observed from her seat beside the sunlit windows. Her hands remained clasped, her expression unreadable. She said nothing, just watched. By contrast, Luigi had made up his mind. Every morning he stood at the corridor's end, half hidden behind tapestries, pretending to inspect the plumbing or fiddle with the window latches. He watched Mitchell move, saw how he waited a fraction of a second before mimicking every action, and noticed the occasional spasms in his arms, tics that didn't belong to anything human or mushroom kind. Luigi brought his concerns to Mario, who was currently trying to upgrade the Royal Pipe network near the Toad Town Bridge. Covered in soot and elbow deep in a copper junction box, Mario looked up when Luigi started his rant. He doesn't eat, Mario. He only pretends to chew and then walks away from the table when no one's looking. So he's on a diet. You worry too much. He doesn't sweat. He froze the other night, mid-wave, like his brain was buffering. Mario snorted, twisting a wrench. Maybe he's just shy. Remember how nervous Yoshi was when we met him? Luigi's voice dropped. I saw his reflection, Mario, in the water fountain. It wasn't a mushroom, it was metal. And it was watching me watch it. Mario paused. For a moment, the clank of tools stopped. Then he laughed. Okay. So tomorrow we all go to the festival together. Peach says he's coming. You keep an eye on him. And if he does anything weird, really weird, I'll back you up. Deal, Luigi grumbled, but nodded. The Sunshine Isles, a breezy cluster of tropical islands just off the coast, glowed under the morning sun, shaped like a ring of coral and dotted with shine sprite lighthouses. It hosted the annual Mushroom Bloom Festival, celebrating the arrival of the season's first super mushrooms. Vendors sold seaweed spaghetti. Floating bongo platforms bounced across crystal water. Sky Cheap Cheeps jumped through hoops in synchronized dance. Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Mitchell arrived via warp gondola to cheers and confetti. Toad photographers snapped pictures of the Mushroom Man, who gave mechanical waves and stiff thumbs ups. Children laughed. Peach smiled politely. Only Luigi didn't laugh. His eyes were glued to the mimic's movements, calculating, robotic under the mask of cheer. At sundown, tiki lights flared to life. The air smelled like sugared lava root. Fireworks prepped in the hills. Peach wandered toward the Elder's hut for a diplomatic visit, leaving Mitchell with Mario and Luigi. That night, as the fireworks started to whistle upward, the mimic disappeared. It wandered alone across the sands, carefully, silently. Something about this island whispered to it, the sunstone paths, the shine sprite carvings, the AI signals. It found itself drawn toward a stone platform overlooking the reef. On it sat a boxy hoverbot on standby. Flood 3.0, the newest iteration of the old water cleaning tech. When the mimic approached, the bot stirred. Unauthorized entity detected. Identification requested. The mimic tilted its head. Flood's scan beam swept over the mimic's form. It froze. Form inconsistency detected. Internal chassis does not match visual skin. Activating defensive protocol. A stream of pressurized water blasted out, but the mimic dodged, not gracefully but mechanically, while snapping its spine in half and reforming midair. It landed on all fours like a twisted insect. Flood fired again, locking into attack mode. You do not belong here. Return to your dimension, or... The mimic's chest opened, revealing a cage of twitching steel cords and glowing red light. It lunged. In seconds, Flood 3.0 was torn apart, its camera blinking out as one final image captured the mimic's true form. Limbs fully extended, eyes glowing white hot, teeth now barbed. The footage was saved in a backup drive, buried under a stone bush near the beach. Luigi found it the next morning. He followed the trail of oil spots across the sand, found the broken pieces of Flood, and unearthed the drive. He inserted it into his wrist communicator. The footage played. He nearly dropped the device. There, on screen, was the mimic. Not Mitchell, not a mushroom, but a towering machine with exposed wire ribs, a hollow jaw, and too many fingers. It mimicked his voice, Mario's and Peach's in overlapping tones. Luigi sprinted across the beach. Confrontation. Back at the village square, Mitchell stood in line with Toads, preparing for the fireworks finale. He laughed, clapped, copied dance moves. Peach was complimenting a local chief when Luigi grabbed her arm, panting, panicked. He's not from here. He's not even alive. Mario met him halfway. What are you talking about? Flood scanned him. It saw everything. He's a mimic, a machine, a monster. Look. He played the recording. Silence. Peach's face darkened. Where is he now? They turned, but the mimic was gone. His spot in the Toad formation was empty. Flight through the warp. The castle team scrambled. Mario contacted Toad HQ. Peach issued emergency warp lockdown. Luigi recalibrated his Poltergust 5000 for thermal signatures. But it was too late. A pipe near the village outskirts, one unregistered, gurgled, twisted, and flushed. Gone. The mimic had slipped back into the network. Aftermath. The castle team regrouped that night. Beneath the lighthouses, Mario paced, fists clenched. I should have listened. You told me. Luigi said nothing. He stared into the sea, haunted. Peach approached and set her hand on both their shoulders. It wore our smiles, laughed our laughs. That kind of creature isn't just hunting, it's learning. And now it knows how to hide. She turned. We're not letting it infect our world. Luigi pulled out the map of the warp zones. Then we find it, before it turns our kingdom into its next costume. Together they vanished into the pipe, headed for the deepest corners of the network, where no Toad dared travel. Somewhere far ahead, the mimic crawled through darkness and glitching light, rebuilding its body from data, voices, and leftover sunshine, and smiling. The pipe deposited them in silence. Mario, Luigi, and Peach stood at the mouth of a warping zone they'd never seen on the charts, a null pipe, its interior scarred by corrupted code and shimmering red fungus. What they entered wasn't a location, it was a sickness. The Mushroom Kingdom had bent around the mimic. This was a dark world, made from stolen memories and warped level design. The sky flickered between peach-tinted nostalgia and TV static. The grass grew upward. Mushrooms pulsed with veins of circuitry. Floating blocks spun endlessly in midair, never breaking. And distant voices, Toads, Mario, even Peach herself, echoed from nowhere, misquoted and glitched. Let's, go, 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 go! Hi, I'm P. Hi, I'm P. Hi, I'm Peach. They pushed forward. The first stretch resembled a broken world one, but the ground shifted underfoot like conveyor belts. Floating hand bridges assembled as they stepped, then vanished if touched too long. Mario led here, vaulting over ghost Goombas and corrupted Koopas that burst into digital dust. Luigi fired poltergust beams to clear mimicked enemies that screamed in his voice as they died. Peach kept calm, freezing environmental hazards mid-leap with ice flower bursts. She said little, her hands shook. Next came a vertical maze of twisted pipes, each leaking steam and muttering. The party followed faint traces of heat, residue from the mimic's synthetic core, until they reached a cliff overlooking the final biome. The castle rose like a hallucination from a half-remembered nightmare. It had Bowser's spiked towers, Murray's Art Deco flourishes, and a blinking neon sign that read, "Welcome home, Mitchell." At the entrance stood mannequins of Peach and Mario, badly made, like someone sculpting them from memory. They melted in the sun, smiling. Luigi shivered. He built this from our world, from everything he stole. They crossed the threshold. Inside was a grand hall of mirrors, floor slick with oil. Laughter bounced off the walls. Sometimes Peach's, sometimes Luigi's, sometimes unrecognizable. The reflections didn't match. In some, Mario's eyes bled. In others, Peach held a knife. Then the mirrors fractured, and the mimic stepped through. Gone was Mitchell. Now it stood at full height, over 8 feet tall, draped in scraps of its old mushroom costume. Its body had grown leaner, more adaptive, like it had consumed level data and restructured itself for combat. Wires now slithered like veins. Its eyes, 2 burning stove coil spirals, flashed red and yellow. Its mouth no longer grinned. It unhinged. "Hello, friends," it said, cycling through Peach, Luigi, and Mario's voices. They didn't speak. They just readied their gear. The mimic stepped into a spotlight. "Do you know what I am now? I am your castle's echo, your mascot, your trusted guest." The room shifted, rotating. Mirrors slid into walls. Gears rose from below. They were in a boss arena now, just like the old Bowser traps, but wrong. Let's play. Forever. Boss fight. Phase 1, mirror, engine arena. The stage rotated, gears spun, mirror panels flashed every few seconds, revealing phantom doubles of the trio. Blurry, distorted copies that mimicked their attacks and collided with them out of sync. The mimic copied Mario's exact moves, leaping as he leapt, spin jumping twice as fast. Peach's ice blast bounced off the mimic field. Luigi's poltergust did nothing unless precisely angled between reality flashes. You move, I follow. You speak, I become. You die, I remain. But Luigi, thinking fast, used the mirror panel timing to create a double illusion, sneaking behind the mimic's pattern. Mario grabbed a fire flower and launched a volley into the gears, causing the field to crack. Peach summoned an ice rain from above, finally freezing the mimic's torso in place. It roared in a voice that sounded like 1,000 toads screaming at once. "Stop watching me!" The arena exploded. Phase 2 began. Boss, fight. Phase 2, Hall of Echoes. The trio chased the mimic through a corridor of shifting portraits, where every painting was of a distorted Mushroom Kingdom memory. Toadsworth melting, Daisy with blank eyes, Yoshi in pieces. The mimic now targeted Peach, isolating her. It whispered in her father's voice. King Toadstools, using stolen vocal samples and distorted lullabies. Peach, it's your turn to rule. Don't let them boss you around. I'm proud of you, princess. Peach froze, lowering her ice flower. Her hands trembled. No, you're not him. You're a lie. The mimic stepped forward, flickering until... Too bad. A flash of Flood 3.0's final scan exploded onto the corridor wall. Luigi's preloaded trap. The mimic shrieked in pure rage, its voice ripping through all layers of disguise. It lashed out in panic. That rage gave Mario his opening. Finale, reactor room, shine trap. They entered the core chamber, a hybrid between Bowser's lava reactor and the costume plant of Murray's manor. The floor pulsed with stolen shine sprites trapped in cages, their light flickering. At the center, an unstable warp crystal engine, glowing sickly red and gold. This is my heart now, the mimic whispered, standing between the trio and the engine. Built from your pieces, you can't unmake me, Mario signaled silently. Peach unleashed an ice flower blast to freeze the mimic mid-step. At the same moment, Mario launched Luigi, using the flood jump rocket technique, straight into the core. Luigi used the Poltergust 5000 to rip open the mimic's exposed back, dragging out cables and internal core fragments, each sparking with multicolored remnants of past voices and forms. I remember Clark. I was Mitchell. I was the core overloaded. With one final scream, a child's laugh distorted into white noise. The mimic exploded in a rain of corrupted pixels, shine sprite sparks, and a sound like a curtain dropping. Silence. Back in Peach's castle, the sky was blue. The pipes were quiet. The air smelled like mint tea. Peach upgraded castle security with voice recognition and dream scan protocols. Mario installed motion scanning AI in the warp tunnels. Luigi, he sat at a typewriter in the attic writing his memoir. Ghosts, Machines, and Mushroom Men, a guide to trusting yourself when no one else will. And yet, beneath the castle, in a long-forgotten maintenance cave, a mushroom cap twitched once. A faint voice, half glitched, whispered from a shattered speaker. Mitchell the Mushroom Man. Heh heh. Let's play again.
And that is going to be it for What If the Mimic Found a Warp Pipe in Super Mario. Now, what did you think of this Five Nights at Freddy's and Super Mario crossover video? I want to give a massive shout out to our community here, and a massive shout out to Laura for helping me craft this episode. She was the one who introduced me. Her name is Springtrap. She's been in a lot of the different live streams, and I want to give her a massive shout out and thank you for, helping me and giving me the tools to work with FNAF, as some of these franchises I don't fully understand, so when you guys are giving me content and different lore drops, I really do appreciate it, as it does go a long way. But that being said, thank you guys so very much. Do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn those notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with the latest content. But again, thank you guys so very much, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care, and have a wonderful day. Peace out.